You're all set.
Okay, this is the Downtown Revitalization Ad Hoc Committee. Today is February 5th around 9 a.m. This meeting is being recorded, so you can go to the Town of Bridgewater website for the link. I will call this meeting to order. Present is Council Kevin Perry, Council Mark Lindy, and myself, Mary McGrath. We also have staff with us. Mr. Justin Casanova is on Zoom. Mr. Bob Rulli, Director of CED. And Bob, you brought a team with you. You want to introduce your team?
Melissa Disjardin is landscape architect that you asked to have come speak to you, and then Nicole from my office is here as well.
All right, thank you.
And you do have council member Hunt.
Oh, she's not a staff member.
No, but just letting people know that she's
yes,
here.
we have Miss Hunt is the president of the Bridgewater Improvement Association and also a town council. Also, we have Mr. Bill Smith, the chair of the historical committee, Mr. Ray Ajami, Dr. Ajami, chair of the tree committee. And did I miss one? No, okay. And we have other residents. All right. So the first thing
should be here.
who?
Brian.
I thought Brian was coming, yeah.
Yeah, he said he was coming.
So maybe Mr. Brian, the tree one will be here. So has everyone, we don't have minutes. So I guess we'll go right to public comment. Is there anybody online that want to speak?
Hi, Janet Hanson, Pleasant Street. Good morning.
Good morning.
Wish I could be there, but I didn't get up in time. I've never attended one of these, so I am interested in what the plans are. I just want to mention I would like to, as many, try to keep the quaintness or historical value of the town. I know a lot of residents feel that the buildings need to be spruced up, and I remind everybody that it's not the town's buildings, but we should be able to maybe put some regulations in to upkeep and maybe some incentives for these landlords without increasing the rent to the renters to keep them there. If there's some way we can do an incentive to spruce up the buildings and upkeep it, but I think that we have something that in place or should have in place that they are supposed to be able to maintain it, but we do need to keep the historic value. So that's all I have to comment right now. Thank you.
Janet, is anybody else on Zoom that would want to speak? Seeing anybody here in the public would like to say anything? No? All right, so we'll go on to the next thing. So I would like to make a motion to take out of order. I'd like to go right to discussion, so not everybody has to be here for the zoning if they don't want to be.
Second.
All right, everybody in favor?
Aye.
So let's get right on to the list of zoning. So why don't we start with landscaping? Do you want to do that, Mr. Rumi, you and Melissa?
You asked us to have Melissa available. We're not working on any plan at the moment other than the gas station. So there's no money authorized for Melissa to do anything more than the gas station.
Do we have grants? I thought we were looking into grants for her to do a preliminary landscape.
Not yet. I mean, we don't have a scope of work. We don't have her. You have to understand how grants work.
I've done with grants, so I kind of know, yeah.
Okay, we're not in a position financially to even wonder if we're going to get the match money for a grant. So in terms of, I've said this many times, in terms of telling property owners they have to improve their properties, we don't have anything in terms of in our zoning for code enforcement. And that is shocking to me because it's the first community I've ever worked in where you didn't have a dedicated zoning enforcement officer that could look at what the condition of buildings are and cite people for having them be in disrepair. Now, in terms of incentives, I've said this many times, the number one source of funding for downtowns, particularly with what you want to accomplish, is through community development block grants. We're not eligible for community development block grants unless you as the council deem the downtown area to be blighted. Now, in the past, you have done that, but subsequent councils decided they did not want that designation. I think we could all agree that by the definition of blighted, you probably should get that designation. That is provides facade improvement money, a number of different things you can do, wayfinding signs. But we've applied the first year I was here and we were told, yeah, you meet all the eligibility other than your council has not determined that this is a blighted area. When we look
When
at,
Bob's done, I can give some history on that because we did have that grant.
so I mean, we're eligible because even though Bridgewater has the highest area median income in the region, this downtown area, because of the students at Bridgewater State, is considered low moderate income, which scores more points for us in any type of federal funding. So, until we have those resources, with new development, could we look at a DIF district? We could, but we don't have any of that revenue yet.
Well, right now I'm kind of looking at the common word and we do have enforcements. 10.21 is the building inspector and he shall enforce, he's an enforcer. And if he can write a violation out and he can, I didn't write the whole thing, I got it on my phone, but he is an enforcer for the thing. So
Well, I
we do
mean, that's the conversation between the manager and the building
right, but we
department.
do have enforcements and we want to work with the company, so we don't want to have to enforce it. We're looking for grants to help them and stuff like that. And one of the reasons
I would be reticent to get grant money to give it to some of these property owners
I'm
that,
not giving it to the property owners. I would like to buy signs, decide what signs they would be our owners, if the owners would put them up. I don't want to put a burden on the businesses. I want to keep them. So the signs would belong to us, or we could put them up with the stipulation if they leave within a year, they got to give us signs back. So I'm not trying to force them, but I need to fix the downtown so I can get some businesses in there. And the reason I brought Mrs. Hunt with me, because she has worked on this through the association, right?
Oh, no, not through the BIA, through the town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to get gift grants and we didn't follow through, so we lost them. So I guess I was asking Melissa and you here, because I wasn't sure if you guys could get grants, because you talk about grants a lot, and a preliminary design. I don't know how much that would cost.
last year we applied for technical assistance for wayfinding to achieve what you wanted to achieve. Because we weren't in compliance with the MBTA communities at that time, we didn't get funded.
So maybe now we can.
Possibly. I mean, I think that there has to be a priority of the hierarchy of what we're asking for. We're asking for a lot of money for infrastructure improvements. We're asking for a lot of money to support expanding water capacity. I mean, we're not going to have a laundry list that we're going to be eligible for in terms
So
of
you say if
funding.
we designated the town as Blythe, is that?
Not the town, the downtown
Just the
area.
downtown. So then we get grants through that?
Possibly. There's no guarantee that I mean, it's super competitive right now, particularly with the current administration, to get any kind of federal money. And a lot of it has dried up.
It's
So
more state money than anything I'm looking for.
it's competitive to get state money because the state is getting less federal money. So
Right.
it's not that we can't, but we don't have a plan per se.
So what's the negative of if we designated the center?
I don't think there is at all, but I mean, signs in and of themselves are not going to solve the problem. I mean, we need to have a collective argument in terms of what's our parking strategy? What's our parking management strategy?
Well,
Can I finish?
the town manager's working on that. We separate, I'm just interrupting because I don't know if you know, the town manager's working on transportation, crosswalks and all that. I'm working on the center and fixing up the signs. So everything I'm talking about is the center of the businesses. We're separated, but we're gonna come together and work together.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about crosswalks. I'm talking about,
Just said parking and that, he's working on that.
yeah, okay.
Can-
And I just want to stay focused on what we're, with the center and the buildings. Because
So,
we're working on two separate things, Justin and I.
so the front of the buildings look awful and should designate it as like it's an image thing, it's a marketing thing. I'm sure we can explain to people that we have to do that designation in order to get the money. And we should try for any money that we can get in whatever way we can get it.
Yeah, I don't think there's, other than people remembering that the town council voted to declare it blighted, I don't think the next day it doesn't affect anyone on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
And, again, arguably, without it being designated blighted, people probably feel like it is.
Could I say something about when
Sure.
it was designated blighted? Okay. It was several years ago, 2010, something like that. Peter Columbotus, who was a counselor, council wanted us to apply for a grant. we tried to apply for a grant. There was a specific person that you need to get on your team to help you apply for it, because there are 3 people across the state who help get those kind of grants. So we got a really fantastic person who helped us. And then she said, I've checked with the state, and Bridgewater is ineligible because in the 1900s, like about 1985 or something, sometime like that, a group of folks from Bridgewater, they were all men. I don't mean to be biased, but they were all men who had breakfast together, applied and got one of those grants. And they did never do anything with it except have breakfast and talk about what they were going to do, and never did anything. And the town made Bridgewater ineligible to have the grant. So we went to Boston, we sat and we talked with the people, and they said, okay, we'll take you off of the ineligibility and we'll make you eligible again. Peter Columbotus and I spent probably 4 months of the summer walking the entire distance, giving them information, pictures, and descriptions of what every place looked like, because that's what we needed. That's what you needed to tell them. I mean, you can't just say, we don't like the way that our buildings look. Give us some money. It doesn't work like that. And then at that point in time, and I don't know how it is now, but at that point in time, the expert who was working with us said, you do much better if you have 2 towns and have one town who's been doing this well, and then you're the newbie, and you come on and we got the grant to do that. And we did some things in town. There were 2 pieces to the grant. One was to help other people in town who needed things like new windows or things to fix their houses. And then there was the downtown piece. We never got around to doing the downtown piece, any part of it. I mean, by then it wasn't the group that had been working on it. It was with the town, it was fully with the town. Mr. Rudy wasn't here yet then. It was, but Michael Dutton was. And the other town that had been doing it really successfully for many years, their town manager died. The town manager from another town went over there, didn't want to do anything with it, didn't do anything with it. The person who was our community and economic development person here, Greg, went over to Marshfield and replaced the person who went over to the other town. So we lost that person here in Bridgewater, and we lost the grant got returned. So we just did the pieces that were not to the downtown. So I don't know, I would check with the state again and see how happy they are with us. Maybe they're really happy because Mr. Ruley's been applying for grants and probably has a good communication with them.
Yeah, I mean, the CDBG grants are run through the Office of Housing and Urban Development. Many communities in the late 90s, early 2000s lost their eligibility for CDBG because the money was misappropriated, purpose wasn't satisfied. There's an incredible amount of reporting that goes along with these federal grants. I mean, we're set up to be able to do that. As I said, we did. Nicole and I worked on an application. We had a meeting with the state, who is the pass-through for the money, and we thought we were in good shape. But then it came back to not having that designation. So we don't need to partner with another community. I mean, I've done it in other communities that I've worked to the point that we've won awards. But again, it's a little bit of education. You've got 2 buildings that the landowners or property owners clearly don't care about. Whether you're going to give them a grant or you can set up a revolving loan fund. I mean, you can do a number of different things with the funds that you get. But I think that we need a holistic plan. It's not just, you're not going to put a nice sign on a horrible building. It's not going to make a difference. Do we need to look at traffic and pedestrian improvements? Yes, that has to be part of it. That ties into parking. We've got a lot of opportunities now, but parking becomes exacerbated when you have situations like we had a snowstorm that we haven't had in many years. Where do you put the snow? That reduces the amount of parking spaces. It creates pedestrian problems. Is anybody enforcing that people are shoveling their sidewalks? Things like that. So, I mean, I think, you know, I all for having a vibrant downtown. I mean, that is complementary to what the university is looking. Historic tourism or cultural tourism is a real thing. You have that potential here with the buildings and the neighborhoods that you have that are compact to the downtown. But it's, and I think that your comprehensive master plan addressed that in 2022. It's a matter of money and direction and policy. I mean, is the whole council supportive of the direction that you want to take this? I mean, we're available to help, but you know, in Melissa's case, you know, what do we, she's not gonna, you know, I won't speak for her, but I mean, what do we want her to do?
I think we talked about that. I will just clarify. I'm not giving grants to the owners. I'm taking grants for the town. I want to assist in like maybe buying the signs and motivating the businesses to fix their outside. I'm not doing parking or anything, like I said. Justin has that in all the crosswalks. We're talking so we know what each other's committees are.
I understand that, but my point is, you know, this is where these things fall apart, where we're in silos. We need a comprehensive master plan as to what we're going to do and who's responsible for those things.
I think that's what we're trying to do.
Master plan, we're working together. Justin is on the thing. We've talked about this, but we keep talking about the whole plan and we don't do anything. So this group is focused and we'll bring it before the council once we get some information. Is the common and starting, what can we do? Can we apply for grants to fix the outside? I know, I should say, Mr. Casanova is going to be working with meeting with the business owners. So we are working together, but bringing everyone together to do this whole project. I don't know how many years the master plan's been there and we haven't done anything. So now we're going to take it in steps, but working together, completely together. Nothing I'm going to do here is going before the town council. Mr. Casanova knows. So we're all going to work together, but we're taking chunks because otherwise we're not getting anything done. But
Mary, I'd like to chime in. Sorry, finish your train of thought, but I do want to
No,
add
go
to
ahead.
that.
I'm all
No.
set.
I think that's the key part, and this is part of having this meeting, right? And this is why all this team is here, is we're collaborating, we're talking amongst each other, and we're fleshing out ideas. So I do agree with Bob, like it's a comprehensive view of it, but it also doesn't mean because we're looking at comprehensively that we can't make incremental improvements. You know, I know we've looked at vision to reality and so forth, and we've had, you know, multi-year processes. But there's areas that we can try to, you know, to do some work now. And I think that's what you're referencing, where we talked about some of the line striping, the crosswalks and different things like that. So I think we're all in agreement there. I think it's how do we get there? And I think that's just part of this discussion. So I think we're saying similar things. I do just want to double a little bit on the CDBG grant. It is a competitive grant, and as Bob mentioned, it's a federal grant. But that is an area that I do think that is something we should explore. If it's doing a designation that it allows us to have access to, you know, significantly more funding to improve the downtown area, I think that's an action we should consider and make a decision to proceed with that. But I don't want this to devolve into, you know, one side's doing one or another. No, this is part of that process. We're all communicating and seeing where we want to go, how do we get there, and coming up with a plan to get there. So that's all I would say.
So I agree with what our town manager just said. I think we have to take the magnifying glass and look at the downtown area. Downtown's the heart of the community. You were talking about the snow and the problems with the snow. I found out we don't have anything on the books that requires people to clear snow in this town. I checked it with the town manager and with the town attorney that, you know, in Brockton, I had to, someone told me I say Brockton too much. Sorry, I lived there for 58 years. We were required, I ran a nonprofit. We were downtown. It was a bank building. It turned into the cable station. It was huge sidewalk. I had to hire a bobcat. I had to clear that walkway every single time it snowed, and then my parking lot. And I found a way to do a partnership. I partnered with the parking authority for the city. They needed parking downtown, so we didn't have our lot in use during the day in our lower lot. So we gave it to the parking authority. I never had to plow the street or anything else. Never had to pay for it. But I tried to walk from Walgreens to Boundless Bean, Bound Chase, did part of their walkway to get into their building and left the other part completely. They didn't even touch it. Okay. You know, I don't want to put business owners out of business, but I came here for a nice downtown. Doesn't look nice. The Common has been kept up for years by BIA. Ellis does a great job, but we gotta deal with the trees properly and, the maintenance. It just, that the building that bothers me the most is the boarded up glass sitting next to where that coffee and brew place was. That's what I saw in my city that I used to live in. I don't want to see it.
So, Mr. Ridley, the reason, when we talked at the last meeting, we talked about the tree warden was before he puts in new trees and stuff, he wanted a landscape, but you recommended it, Melissa. So we're hoping that we could get grants from Melissa and have her do it because you recommended, she did a really good job on the mobile. So that's where we are with that. If we can get them, fine. If we can't, I'll go to BSU and see if the kids down there do landscaping, they can do some project for their professor and come down and give us an idea. But of course, I'd rather have Melissa, who has already worked for us. So if you guys can look for grants or Ms. Hunt, that's great for the town and we can try that and absolutely, do that because the tree warden really wanted landscaping design before he decided where the trees are going and stuff like that. So that's why we
I
asked.
can interject there. Brian, I thought Brian was something must have been up.
Yeah,
But I just want everybody to understand, he's very good, by the way. He's saying that many of those trees on the common in 3 to 5 years are dead. So they've got to be replaced. And he did suggest a landscape architect to do it. So I'm just saying that's a small piece of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But it has to be done.
Yeah.
Those trees are going to go.
And the larger piece of what we're talking about is that it all has to go through the Historic District Commission. You're
And
not
that's
going
why
to be able
they're
to do
here.
anything there without making sure.
Yeah. Well, that's why we invite everyone. So, this is just talking. If we can get stuff going, then we'll bring it to the town council and we'll let everyone know that we're doing it. But there's no sense dragging this through all the town council when we can do this here and then tell them about
So maybe Melissa can just share.
Well, I'd like to know what the master plan is first, because I don't want to put together a plan if sidewalk locations and crosswalks are gonna change. It all kind of it's all one big project. Right.
That's kind of going back to my last tenure as leading this subcommittee. Is the original discussion was the traffic pattern and traffic flow and what we were going to do with the sidewalks. Are we widening them? Are we shortening the distance on the crosswalks? So as mentioned, there's a global look at this whole thing that, definitely has to, everything kind of falls in line with these other pieces. So what do we take first? And again, we originally discussed that really you have to decide on the traffic pattern first as your basis. I mean, we're not going to touch the scope, the size of the common itself, because nobody wants to see that change. But everything else around it is in play. So if we are just talking about redesigning the landscape of the common, I think we can have that discussion because the shape of the common's not
that's what we're
changing.
discussing.
Right. But we still, as we're looking at this globally, as she's mentioning, relative to the master plan, what are we doing with the rest of the common? What are we doing with the sidewalks? What are we doing with the traffic flow?
And that's what Mr. Casanova and his group is working on, and that's why when he has information and he comes here, we're doing it. We're just doing the greenery. The trees are dying. You wanted a Christmas tree up there.
Oh, yeah, I know that's part of the situation, sure.
We're gonna have to look at because the fences are sinking into the ground. So right now, we're just looking at the landscape. That's it. So we can get the new trees planted, this younger ones, so when the new ones come out, a Christmas tree if you want. It's just the green.
I think, again, we can look at this as in pieces that's been discussed, but if we're doing all this work to the common, we have to make sure that we are making changes to the roadway and the sidewalks and all that work isn't going to disturb the work that you've done on the common, so to speak.
Right,
So,
and that's why we got the landscaper to
Yeah.
do that in the tree warden. The master plan is what, how many years old?
yeah, no, but my first discussion, I would definitely say is, as we're discussing this, that the council needs to designate this downtown as a blighted area. I think that's step number one.
Yep.
And
Well, I
whatever
wanna make
legislation
sure-
we have to, come up with to do that, I think we have to take that as a first step to create our eligibility to get the CDBG grant and then figure out what type of finances that we're looking at that we can use. And that's going to dictate the scope of how much work we can do.
Yeah.
Because as the budget goes for the town itself, there's no extra budget room right now to do anything with our own budget.
So
So
that's where we could look at different areas like BSU could help us. You never know what the kids are working on. But at the same time, before we just designate some kind of blight, I want to make sure what the negative effects, I want to look into that a little bit more. And that's something we could put on the agenda for our town council and do that. But I think we should start, at least we know these trees are going to die. And and we're keeping the green the same, we're not changing it, so I think at least we can start talking about that and bring it before the town council and the residents.
Right, but I said in order for her to do a plan, which obviously costs money to do a plan, we have
Yeah.
to find the resources to do that. So again, we start with the blighted situation, then come up with the grant money to do so, and then we come up with
I'll bring
a
that to the town
plan.
council. But I want to talk to Bob and the town manager, to make sure there's no negative effects if we designated the town by.
Bob, do you see?
I mean, no, I mean, again, I think objectively, people probably think it's blighted now. I mean,
Yeah.
by definition.
It's just
I
a
don't know that
legal
there's,
definition.
right, I mean, I don't think there's any, it's not gonna dissuade a business from coming here or drive a business out. You know, that we have, two types of funding. We have state funding and federal funding. Most of our state funding is all done through what they call the one-stop program now.
Yeah.
So that ranges from $20,000 to $10 million, depending on what you need. That pipeline gets clogged up pretty quickly because everyone's looking for that. So the benefit of the CDBG money is that's a whole different source of funds that maybe not every community wants to be, Duxbury probably doesn't want their downtown to be blighted.
See,
So-
that's what I'm talking about, the negative. impact.
But I mean, again, you would say that it's not because there's some cohesiveness. I mean, there is a sense of place there.
I don't think you're advertising the fact that, the downtown is
No, I
blighted. It's
just,
just a
before we vote
designation.
on it and bring it to the residents, I just want to do, like, talk to Mr. Castellano Davis and stuff, and just make sure that we're not negatively impacting the town just because we want some money. And if it's fine, then I'll definitely make sure it's on the agenda for the town council.
Melissa, ballpark, what would be the cost to do maybe a landscape plan for the, center of town like that? Any idea?
Well, I first would want to know, I want to know if you want me to help you take a better look on the use, have you talked about the use of your common?
Hmm.
I think
Like
the
a
main
holistic-
thing is.
Or am I just taking this as like a quick snapshot? Just tell me where to put trees. If you're not changing the existing trees on the sides of the road, you're not changing any sidewalks, you're not really changing the use of the common. That's one price. And there's another price if like you want to think about the future where because if you're going to change where the trees are eventually across, because it's nice if you travel down a road and there's a relationship between the trees on either side, right? That looks like it's planned.
Some symmetry, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna change the other side of the road, then let's think about that of where your new trees are gonna go now. So there's if you know what I'm saying, there's
Yeah.
I feel like there's two different price points. So I feel like I could give you those two different price points. And also, are you going to change the center use? Right now, there's lots of trees everywhere.
Right, but
Do you want an open center or do you like the feeling of just like a little mini forest?
well, that's why I was hoping the tree ward's coming, because what he plans on doing, rather than taking all the trees that are gonna be dead down, he wants to plant some in different spots.
Could I just interrupt there for a minute and remember that there are lighting boxes
Yeah.
all through the common
Like-
that the BIA has put there and that we redid,
Yeah,
2 or 3 years ago because they're used when people do the holiday things, they light up everything and,
but we also want the.
So
Christmas
those can't be
tree,
disrupted.
Christmas tree. So
Right.
it would be more like what we can do and fix it, and where can the tree board start putting there so it looks nice when they start growing without changing it too much. Because if the sidewalk's coming up, we're just gonna fix it up. The trees are dying. We need to fix it up. But where can you plant more trees? And keep the center, I would say, pretty much open, but they also had to cut down some of the trees because it blocked the light.
Do you know if this is accurate? Like all these things go into what price cost. Is
Yeah.
this accurate right now? Do I need to go out and make my own base plan? Do we have an
I would say you would want to do your own base
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah,
like all these things are like I have to go and like put hours to each one.
Oh, sure.
and as far as the trees on sidewalks and everything,
Right, so I need
we
to
don't know
factor
when,
those.
but we don't know when we're ever gonna get money to do that part.
We're
We
doing-
have to focus on the common first.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I
I need,
understand what you're saying, but I've lived there for 6 years already. Nothing's changing. The
Well,
master
tree
plan
ward
was
said
in
we
for,
couldn't dig those up.
Well, the only other thing will also interject is, as you're looking at the whole common, including streets and sidewalks, is the location of your crosswalks, because those crosswalks intersect with your walkways that are in the common. So if we aren't going to move crosswalks at all, then that's going to change your sidewalk plan within the common. Now, the whole goal of downtown revitalization is to make it more walkable and make it more vibrant, and so we want people to try and congregate and use that common a little bit more than it's being used. Because right now, people risk their lives trying to cross the traffic to get to the common. So that's why some of the original plans in our plan before, we had a slower lane on one side with cobblestone that people could maybe walk across, and the other side was two-way traffic. We hadn't come to a final decision on traffic flow yet. So this makes a huge decision on everything. So until we come to some final decisions on traffic flow, this is what we were talking about originally, it impacts how we can design the common. So it's one step in one of another.
Design, Mr.
I'm really nervous again.
Yeah, no,
I don't want to tell
I
you.
see what you're saying. I see what you're
And then
saying.
you come back and be
I
like,
think we
why
need to
did you
keep
tell
it
me?
simple. The trees are coming down in 3-5 years. So we gotta have to put them in certain ways.
I-
You guys have been talking about this master plan for like 5 years. We haven't done anything. So I'm not gonna keep holding stuff back. I'm gonna present this to the residents. Mr. Castanova Davis, do you have any concerns about, calling the downtown Blythe?
Blighted? I mean, when I've looked at this, I don't see a reason why we're not gonna try to advocate to get another financial source. And there's a federal resource there, a community development block grant. Once again, it's competitive. Not to say we're guaranteed to get it, but it's a competitive grant that we're eligible for. If that's the designation that we need to make to get some more funding in here, and take some of the costs of the work that we hope occurs here, I don't see a reason why we don't do that.
I just want to make sure you're the town manager. I didn't want this. to
Yeah,
reflect
we've
badly on you
talked
or
about
anything
this,
like
yeah.
that.
We've
Okay.
talked about this. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't.
All right, so we can do that at the town council, and then we'll go over a little bit, try to get the tree ward in, and we can fix it up without dramatic changing, but the trees are coming down in 3 years, and the traffic hasn't changed in, I don't know, 5 years, so we might as well get the trees up. And he can work with Melissa if we hire her, and they can come up with a simple thing that even if the sidewalks and Mr. Casanovas can be involved with what you're thinking about changing. I don't know, are you planning on changing right away?
Well, I think this is the key part where I said, I think this is important to Bob, and I think Melissa, sorry, I haven't met you before, is that we have to look at comprehensive what the needs are. We can't make things like, and I say this sometimes happens, as we look at things in this small vacuum, what impact does a decision here have over here as well? So we have to look at comprehensively. At the same time, there are some areas that we can make some changes. For example, what's been talked about is there's people, it used to be two-way traffic on this side coming here. It's one-way, right? Striping that line. Maybe our crosswalks need to be repainted right now. Not saying structurally they're changing. These are the areas that we talked about. Hey, maybe we can do some of that work, but we still have to look at this comprehensively. My position on that hasn't changed at all.
Well, I'll just add, I mean, in last year, we had funding from the state. We brought in a team of nationally recognized experts on walkable communities that gave us a plan. Now, they suggested perhaps a roundabout. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's two-way traffic on either side of the common or not. But, the opportunity to holistically think about this, if we expand the sidewalks, replace those street trees, does that enhance what the downtown is in terms of bringing the restaurants in that could have sidewalk seating? They're not wide enough now. I mean, those are decisions that can be made now. Unfortunately, the governor did have money in her budget to continue that. It was 150,000 that somehow got pulled out of the budget at the last minute. So, we got to this point and then we didn't have any funding left. So, we have a better chance of getting money when it's part of a larger plan. The way they evaluate it, they're the one-off scare funders, because what if, to what Mary Lee said, if you don't have enough money, you only do part of it, then people are like, well, how come they got picked and I didn't? And so, I mean, it's better to have, this is the plan. Certainly, prioritizing the trees could be part of the plan. I mean, I think that's fair, but you know, to Melissa's point, we have 15 crosswalks in this area. That's way too many crosswalks. I mean, that's just an invitation for people to become hood ornaments on a car. So, you know, but that's part of the thing, you know, what was identified when Nitch and Jeff Speck were here. So we have the execution is all dependent on money.
Can I ask you a question? So your plan, is it touching the fences that's around the common? Are you changing that at all?
I don't think that plan ever
Addressing
looked
it?
at, I don't think that plan ever looked at changing the configuration of the common. In terms of what the fencing is, I think some of that is dependent on what decisions you make on traffic and parking. So you certainly, if you were going to, you know, one of the schemes they showed parallel parking along the common. Well, if that's what you're going to do, that's going to impact what kind of fencing or screening you're going to have. I agree with you. Whatever there now, I mean, looks like somebody forgot about it.
Because I figured if you're gonna leave it like that, but I still think we can fix it up with the trees and at least fix it up and maybe put the evergreen in there. And put it in such a way that no matter where you put the sidewalks, it's gonna be accessible.
I think there's another piece to it. Michael Dutton several years ago had art schools and art school college come down and make plans because the war memorial that sits right out here and faces the street, no one can look at that and read it because the war memorial faces the street. So you have to like walk through bushes and try to get out in front of it, see it. So he had people come in and make some plans for what we could do to turn that around, to make that a part of some reason that people would want to go. And you know, we have the fire department also has a memorial out there. There are things like that out there. Some of the plans that came in for that, because I happen to be on that committee too. The one that I liked, I didn't like a lot of the plans, but the one that I really liked had some elevated kind of walk up stairs, but you could even sit on them, and it had the memorial at the end of that with like, I don't know if it had a little fountain or just a green place in the middle of it, but it was very nice, you know, and it attracted you to come there. So when we're thinking of that, and we're thinking of like redoing, and we've got light boxes all over, and we've got memorials, and there's another one on the other end, and then there's the drinking trough on the other end. These are all things that I think are precious things to the town.
Well, can the light boxes be removed and replaced, right?
Well, you know, we just spent $10,000 to replace them and make them nice a couple of years ago.
I think we could pick them
So
up
it would be
and put them
kind of
back.
nice to not have you have to tear them all up. I don't know that we will pay to do, the BIO pay to do them again, you know.
No, I'm just wondering if we changed the trees, around. But
You'd have to pay somebody to come, they're electrical boxes,
Okay,
you know,
so
so
we'll
that
have
all the
to-
electricity is there. You'd have to go in. fix it.
The memorial stuff that you're talking about, just go to Middleborough and look at what they've done in front of their town hall. They have a beautiful memorial park. I think that's a great idea because I've wanted to see the names and it's 100%. I also worry about that being there. It hasn't
It could
been
be
hit.
hit.
All
It
of
could
the
be hit.
pillars in front of it and the fencing has, but it needs to be a little in so it does.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if we could bend the rules, since we have some business people here at the meeting, that we will let them speak right now and ask them what they see about the center. Is that okay?
I don't have a problem.
No
Yeah.
problem with
Go ahead,
it.
Donna.
Thank you. Donna Jewell. I had a question about the buildings around the common. Globally and big picture, I agree with pretty much most of what everybody's talked about, long range. But I look at it more as a need for a short range plan here. When I look at the buildings around the common, some need paint, some need windows, some need new railings. And it's like if you could freshen it up without, in the interim, in the short term, without waiting for the long term to come about, I think it would go a long way. And I do agree with the need for consistent signing and signing bylaw enforcement. I think those two things would go a long way. To that end, do all the buildings right around the common, just the call it the Rotary Park, do they all qualify for CPC funds?
You want me to speak to that?
Okay, Mr. Hunt, you would.
I have to go in a couple minutes, but may I make a general statement first? You keep identifying parts of the park, the grass, and you have another one over here, you have another thing over here. Somebody needs to sit down and put a piece of paper, each need. Then you can start to talk about prioritization. To the question of CPC. The common is actually in Macris, it's designated. Historic District Commission has authority over it. CPC can pay for historic preservation. We have housing funds that we can pay for. Those are the two areas that we could potentially support.
So could we go to some of the building owners and say, there's X number of dollars available to you to paint your building or put a brick facade on it, or
We cannot fund maintenance. We can
Okay.
only fund historic preservation, restoration from that perspective.
so to preserve, like, say, the northbound side of the common, the fronts of those buildings.
Yes.
Could we offer them some kind of financial plan or
They-
incentive
They
to,
would have to, no, we cannot. That's up to the town.
they'd have to come to you?
But they would have to apply as a business. We generally only fund nonprofits and municipal projects. We can fund private, but we have to do that very carefully.
Okay.
Would those buildings need to be designated historic and what?
They already are.
They already are,
The
okay,
whole common is actually in Macris. The
okay,
whole common is designated. It's not federally designated, but it's state designated.
okay.
We're just looking at some shorter term, quick fix paintbrush, brick facades or whatever it might be to make it look fresher.
That
Unfortunately,
part's a little more difficult, and I think that's what causes
Right,
some of this has maintenance, and that's
it's
not
maintenance. We cannot cover maintenance.
That's me.
I got it.
But
And that's what I
those
wanted to
buildings,
ask.
paint is not going to fix those buildings.
No,
No,
They have to be completely redone. By the way, I don't know if you knew that the building right next to the townhouse actually used to be a school building that was moved up from the university.
you never knew that.
So because the people is private owners, what if they decide that they want to tear them down? They can't.
Well, they have to go through a demolition process.
delay or.
Okay.
We had one where your building over here, the brick building.
Okay.
That was our
Apartment
business.
building over there, that was a former building, they got torn down.
Yeah.
These guys replaced it with a very nice building.
Okay.
No, we approved that historic district commission because the building was
The
dilapidated.
liquor store, the old liquor store.
Yeah, the old liquor store.
So
Sidewalk.
what's your opinion on these ones over here?
Well,
Are they
I
safe?
hope they can be saved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not dilapidated.
So if we talk to the business owners saying that, oh, they could be saved, but they need to go by a certain historic to get the PCPC, then they would go for that and fix the outside that
In the
way.
historic district, I mean, it's not as simple as just, we're gonna paint an old building.
No, I know that.
Those buildings all have lead paint, so they have to be encapsulated, and then have a licensed contractor remove the lead, so it's a public safety hazard, so you'll see they put a tent over the building. It's super expensive, not to say that they shouldn't do it, but again, if we have code enforcement and, it's determined that, yeah, it's an old building, but I mean, there are standards and we can have design standards. I mean, those are things that, when you look at those downtowns that you want to go to and walk around, they have, to Donna's point, they have a sign standard. You can't have a sign over a certain size. You can't have backlight illuminated signs. So there is some consistency, but they've created that sense of place where, I like to say there's a there. There's a reason you go there. And that used to be like this
Yes.
here. I mean, when I was in school here, this was thriving. I mean, and, over time, things changed, obviously, but, I'm not knocking local businesses, but when you look to see what the mix of your businesses are, I'm always mystified by 5 nail salons within 300 yards.
Yeah.
It is, that tells you something.
Well, it tells you we have a college, unfortunately.
No, it does. I mean, from an economic development
Well, that's what
standpoint.
we're trying to change, we're
it-
trying to, like the awnings and all the things that you say. And we do have laws that they can't have blinking signs and they go before the historical committee and then they do whatever they want and nothing. So that's why we figured if we could fix it up and look at to go there, then more businesses coming in. And that's what we're trying to do.
I mean,
So it's
the
not-
other part of it too is that, we've talked about this, the types of local businesses, you have those already. Can you have more improved local businesses? Sure. But you need people living downtown to attract other businesses. So, you have the building that you're referring to has been neglected way before I got here. I mean, the number one revenue source for that building is the billboard on the top of that building. Our understanding is it's for sale or recently got sold. I don't think that building is salvageable. And that's going to be, a challenge for the Historic District Commission. It's going to be a challenge for the town because there's no parking at that property. But that can't stay the way that it is, and it
That's up
probably
for
won't.
sale.
Yeah, it's been for sale for.
So I understand what you're saying that, we need apartments down here before we can, and I disagree because I live in Foxborough. And they have a great center and they don't have a lot of apartments. So I think we can attract businesses and people downtown without waiting to build apartments.
What do they have downtown Foxborough?
In Foxborough?
Everything.
Yeah, they have a breakfast place, they have Cindy's Jewelry.
Do they have people living above those?
Nope,
So these are one-story buildings?
most of them.
Yeah, most of them, I mean, it's no more than, bigger than down here. I mean, they took their old fire station and turned it into a pub, couple apartments upstairs. That was the first that was there. But they have that theater down there. No, so they have things that bring people in, but they don't have apartments down there. So I think we could do that.
Okay, I'll agree to disagree with you on
Well,
the need
we
for
could-
housing, but we're talking about, what you're talking about here, you want to preserve the character of what your downtown looks like. So you have existing businesses that have apartments above them.
Yeah.
Are they quality apartments? Probably not on this side of the street, they're not.
But what can I do about that right now? So what I'm working on is what tangible I can do. If Foxborough can do it,
I wouldn't compare, I mean, if you're talking about a downtown that has one-story buildings, that's a whole different conversation than the downtown that you have here.
Well, they have some offices upstairs. It might be a couple apartments, like I think on one side where the bakery is or the pizza place, they have a couple.
Think about what you have now. Let's go down that side. You have a real estate office that looks nice. It's kept neat. No one's ever in there. You have a vape shop that was a comic book store. You have Periwinkles, who questions whether she can continue on. You had a barber shop that moved. So, I mean, you have a lot of low-hanging fruit. I mean, those aren't credit tenants. Those are tenants that are probably paying $5-6 a foot.
Well, that's because.
And there is housing
would I-
above in some of
That's right.
those, there's
I mean,
housing.
why would a good company come in here when this is what it looks like? So unless.
They're
we
not going
start
to, I
changing
mean,
it, we can't-
what's your definition of a good company?
A good company that wants to come in, any company.
Well, but
Okay,
what-
Not another nail salon, okay? I mean, I like nail salons, but not another one. So I mean, what, if we have a college, we should be attracting businesses. You get down here, Italian deli down here, you know what a booming business that would be?
Yeah.
With a thing, so we're not thinking that way, and I want us to change, and that's why I keep bringing up like Foxborough. They aim at people. They know most people are gonna go through their town to go to Gillette Stadium, but they work hard to make people want to stop in their center they have like the best bagel place down there. They have the theater. So they look at what we can do to attract people. So they're not just whipping through our town to Gillette, and they've done a really well job. And because I lived there, I saw it and experienced it. And I was on the town, I got involved. We walked around the parking. We did all of that. So I've had some of that experience, and it saddens me that we're not looking at people just driving through here to go to Plymouth. You know what I mean? I think we have to change.
One idea that I had is the college has a bookstore. We used to have a nice bookstore probably when you went here downtown.
It's gone.
It's a Barnes and Noble franchise at Bridgewater State. I'd love to see them move the bookstore downtown so the residents can get regular books and the students can get textbooks, and maybe there's some technology in there. You talked about an Italian place? Sophie's in East Bridgewater. They're in the old bank, the old yeah, I wish it was here. I think we keep hearing the rents are too high. You said $6 a square foot. That doesn't sound too high to me, but I've heard most of the businesses that have been there that are gone left because of rent. The breakfast place left because of rent.
I was gonna comment on that. I mean, we had Sister and I for years.
Yeah.
But that was grandfathered in.
Right.
So any new business, as far as a deli, whatever, is gonna have to bring everything up to
So
code.
let me throw,
To the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
so
But I mean, if it's worth it, I mean, and they're gonna start getting all that money from the college, I mean, you have to look at that, but I mean.
So to your Italian deli, I asked Mr. D'Amelio,
And that's my next question I was gonna ask there.
what are the challenges you have leasing that first floor?
Parking.
Well, I mean, we have a parking lot behind the, that's.
Could I just explore that? So if you had parking, you could have a restaurant potentially in there?
Well, originally there was a couple of interested business owners that ran restaurants. And one of the ideas they had, if you look, there's an alleyway between the building that has restoration and ours. There's a spot there was no parking, so they were gonna do valet. And every person that looked to possibly lease the space and fit it out for a restaurant looked over at the 70, well, roughly 70 amount of parking spots behind
The gas
fire
station.
The gas
station.
station, yeah.
And it was very dumpy to them.
Mhm.
And they realized that it's just not a, to their opinion, just not a very good look to park in a dumpy area with dumpsters around and trash and this, that, and the other thing. And then to walk through the alleyway and come to the restaurant. So they were gonna push to valet, but they didn't want to take the chance of not having return customers. We do have parking in the back. We have 14 parking spots designated for that space, which was mandated by the town when we decided to do 33% commercial space in our building. We figured maybe 6 to 8 would be employee parking for that space. And then regular customers will get to know it's going to be an additional, 10 spaces roughly, give or take, that they would, but
You have tenants.
I have tenants, yeah, 5
And
units.
that's a challenge for restaurants in the downtown area is that it wants to be activated. So if they had a restaurant in there, that would be the only business right now that would be open at night. So to his point, and we've are looking at the parking behind the gas station. We're looking to see what happens with the gas station and whether we can, but no one is going to, even if that parking lot was maintained, there's a sense of safety for people to go back and forth, and it's the only
Crosswalks get killed walking
it's
across
the
the
only
street.
building that's lit at night.
I think we could, I mean, we can, I mean, like you said, people do go to the malls at night and they have to park Farm Rock, bring that up, and, anything can happen. If we light that up and we have more businesses, I have no problem with that. If you light something up, the police can even put like a blue box there that they have on the issue. These are little things that we can.
Well, yes, but I think Justin is, we're looking at, more signals for pedestrians, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know myself, if at night, if you're crossing from the gas station to get over to the other side, it's an Olympic sport.
Right.
It's way too bad that project is going forward behind the buildings over there.
Stefano, is there anything, the bank has extra property back there, right? It's just blank property.
They have plans to expand their parking there and have for quite a while.
And it's just, in the town public.
But I don't see it happening.
That's fine, it's at night.
That where it might comes to a discussion between them and the town about a shared parking
Yeah.
situation, which is what,
Yeah.
Bob has talked
Talked
about
about
over
that.
time, to have so many parking spots around the common, whether it be over in front of Walgreens or behind the bank.
Yeah, I mean, we identified that, we did the workshop in September of 23. We have almost 750 parking spaces within the downtown area. Now some of that includes the church parking lots. Some of that is on-street parking. But looking at all of the parking we have, I like to say we don't have a parking problem, we have a parking management problem, but shared parking is becoming more and more, something that communities are looking at. Many communities are eliminating the requirement for on-site parking when they're approving new projects, because parking is the most expensive part of any real estate development, because you don't make any money off of it.
Yeah, Foxborough had sharing parking at night, especially because of the theater, the banks and all that. you know what I mean?
But to Bluestone, I mean, they've consolidated their operations. I mean, they have undeveloped parcels
Yeah.
behind that they haven't. So, I mean, that would be a great spot for a restaurant in there.
Yeah,
The problem with shared parking, and I'm just gonna speak for myself, I don't want to speak for any other business owner, but if someone has come to say to me, hey, we're gonna use your parking spot for shared parking, I'd like to know who's liable, who has the liability if someone were to slip and fall and break their hip or leg or smash their
Yeah,
head.
I mean, and it doesn't work blanket. I mean, so in your situation, it probably wouldn't work because you have an obligation for your tenants that they have parking. That was part of their lease. But when we look at a Walgreens, or if we look at CVS and some of these other large lots, that's where, because the Walgreens is never more than a third full. So, I mean, that's where you would look to have your shared parking. If you have a walkable community, you could park at Spring Street, but right now people feel like it's the DMZ trying to, walk from the, and it's, I say it all the time. You can walk from here to the Spring Street lot to the campus and be back here in 15 minutes. And I'm a slow walker. That's optimal pedestrian walking time for a downtown, but we have all of these breaks. So, I mean, we're starting to see something. I mean, the friendly site that will fill in one of the gaps, whatever happens with Pascal's lot across the street. I think that building on the corner, something will happen there. Godshack's property probably needs, something will happen there eventually. So there's opportunities, but it just, again, it comes back to what is the plan? What are your design standards going to be? We have design standards in the form-based code.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so.
I've looked at them. You kind of give them a little freedom. Their signs can be round. They can have their store name on the order. So I looked at all the designs that you have down there, but it will come down to, I think, Mr. Moore a little bit, because do you have more restrictions on signs because it's a historical district?
Yes, definitely. But
Yeah.
those signs would just apply to businesses within the district. Gottschalk's is not in the district, for example.
Right.
The Sakosha block is. I wanted to say something about demolition by delay. We were talking about property owners that neglect their properties. And sometimes there's a long-range plan, at least that's what Mass Historical Commission people think, for business owners or property owners, I should say, to neglect property to the point that they fall into such disrepair that there's no choice but to demolish them. And I'm afraid that's what's happening with the Sakosha block. I mean, that building is being neglected. It's been neglected for the last 10 or 15 years or so. And it's going to get to the point that it will just self-destruct. And I was just wondering if there's anything we can do as a town to monitor situations like that.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think part of the problem there is that the owner was elderly, lived out of town. If you look at what the mix of those tenants is there, and again, anybody who has the courage to open a small business, whatever it is, I give them credit. But when you look at, what your mix is and the fact that now you've got tenants rotating in and out, I mean, I think there's only 2 occupied spaces left in there right now. And what the cost is to, we don't have, again, with CDBG money, you could have incentives for people to do some things, but incredibly, probably unbankable right now for somebody to buy that building and restore that the way that we would like to see it restored, because it will never pencil out. I mean, to meet the historic guidelines that it would be in place, you'd have to more than likely add a second and third story to that, but then it comes back to parking. There is no parking there.
It originally had a second floor, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was a hotel at one point.
And
That's
some
why I'm kind of not
offices.
focusing on that, because I know that's just a mess and it's being so.
But I mean, that's the first thing that people see.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know,
Yeah.
but it's up for sale right now, right?
it either got recently sold, but it's been for sale for the last couple of years. But, what we're seeing is that, just look at where D'Angelo's was, that property turned for a ridiculous amount of money for what was there.
Yeah.
That puts a higher price on that parcel. So I don't know what the structural integrity of that building is. I mean, I understand that, somebody had a piece of equipment go through the floor.
Yep.
One of the businesses had to move out of there because there was water in the basement. So, I mean, I think it was the tattoo parlor, because they have health requirements, they couldn't continue to operate in there.
Right, but right now, we don't have any control over it, right? So that's why I kind of wasn't.
Again, I don't know, again, code enforcement can do a lot of things for you.
Yeah,
It's all a question of what appetite does the town have to be very stringent on code enforcement, and where are you going to do that?
Beyond that, Bob, is the staffing to do the code enforcement too.
Yeah.
We have one zoning enforcement officer for the town. We haven't had a deputy building commissioner. in a
can you
long time.
hire someone part-time from outside that we can share with another town?
If we
That's
could
been
pay
very
them.
difficult. That this was budgeted previously, for example, in the building department. This is one of the things we've had discussion about. One caveat said CDBG funding too, which is important. Is code enforcement is something that can be under CDBG as well. There's a
Okay.
variety of things. That's why for us.
Well, going back to that, I was suggesting again, since we can't potentially use CPC funds, if we could potentially get, like, say, facade improvements through the CDBG, that could go to potentially again mitigated funds for lead and all that type of stuff could be right into that. And again, depending on what type of funds we could get, that could start the ball rolling for something along those lines. But I think that would be our best funding source to try and get something to start, improving the facades of these buildings, where most of the buildings need more than just a lipstick on the front. At least gets the appeal of the downtown looking a little bit better. But I think it starts with probably applying for those types of funds.
Mr. Casanova, do we have to present it for the town council to call this town, the center? Why?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a town's council.
Okay,
and-
so we'll
and
have
just
to write
what-
up an ordinance.
We'd have to write up a procedure, whether it be an ordinance or
Yeah.
whatever.
I don't think it's a heavy lift.
No, I don't think so.
Do we have to have somebody come in and, I mean, are we,
I think we can just designate it as
Yeah.
okay,
that's-
I can just go around and say, oh, I think this is.
There are no criteria
Why
for
not?
that
I'll check with,
designation.
Todd Rulli and Mr. Casanova. What did you want to say, Ray?
Well, I was just sitting here listening to it.
You sure have.
And it's a fascinating discussion, but sat through a lot of meetings, but I don't want this to end with just a discussion. What are the action items that we're gonna come up
I
with?
guess we're gonna
Blythe is
designate Blythe is here so we can start getting the funds, and we'll sit down, especially with the tree warden, with Melissa, to figure out how we can, fix it up without making huge changes, so in case something does happen with the sidewalks.
Okay, regarding that,
Yeah.
he is at the last meeting, as you all.
He was, yes, and that's why we.
He recommended that we have a
Yeah.
landscape architect, and he is talking about, a plan for the common and possibly on the side. You can just allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Right now, I could tell him to meet with Melissa.
Do you think once the snow is gone, the engineer could do, I don't need topography, but a quick survey?
Yeah.
Okay, so we get a survey that would cut down.
We can have
some of my
Greg
feet.
do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
We get a survey to get the boxes, get the existing trees, and then I think you have like a 3 phases. You got where the trees would go with the existing trees, with everything existing. So you have your first phase. That would probably not be all the trees that you're ever gonna get, right? So it's just like, let's just get a few trees in an interim while the trees are here. And then your second phase is where the trees that are going to die in the next 5 years, that's your second phase plan. And then your third phase, and that's where you all need to just kind of decide what would be our best plan. What do we want? Where do we want our crosswalks? That's third phase. And that might, maybe there might be 1 or 2 trees taken out eventually, but there might be some more trees added up with that.
so we
third.
could go ahead and fix it without the sidewalk.
Yeah, it just might not be all the
Can you
trees.
look
about-
at, like, Ms. Hunt brought up the monument and that, if we could turn that and make it.
Yeah,
like
and
bench
I
stuff like
actually, I
Okay,
went to that, I think I was on that.
Were you there?
I was on that meeting,
was
yeah,
a-
I think I was like,
that was a few years ago.
I know.
Yeah.
so maybe we could just stick with that, and then if there's any further about where the sidewalks are moving or anything like that, we can continue, but just if we can get that done and make it nice, and the evergreen tree that the Lions Club really wants.
Sure, when you say blighted,
Yeah.
deem something blighted, are
Yeah.
you talking about just in the internal part of the common? Or are you talking about some of the buildings around the perimeter?
You're talking about, you're designating an area, geographically an area as blighted.
So the buildings would be, some buildings would be considered.
Everything in that area is considered
eligible.
blighted.
On the
eligible.
historic
But
district.
individual buildings, so his building wouldn't be.
I'm
No.
talking about my building. I think mine's not blighted.
No.
I think it looks.
Yours is new.
Accessible. Some of
They
the
go
shutters
that
got
way.
broken, but that's another story for another time. By the trees that were smacking it.
The tree ward actually talked about
It
that.
was really nice of the town to come down and trim them. I asked them to, so this spring I plan on taking the shutters down and putting new ones up, but.
Yeah,
So if you look across the other town, other side, there's property owners, not business owners, owners. So they're gonna get notified that their property is now considered.
No, we also had notices.
Okay, well,
And it's no different than a historic district. I mean, people may or may not know where the boundaries of that are. I mean, the blighted is really the mechanism for us to access funds.
Right.
And then, with those funds, the town to say, okay, we now have a facade program. In order to be eligible to get those funds, you have to do certain things. And we've done a lot of outreach to businesses, local businesses. Those businesses don't participate. So, we've got the old town hall, the building next to it, that building's been for sale since I've been here as well.
Hasiotis owns that,
Yeah,
correct?
exactly. I mean, and, again, people look at that and say, okay, he's got a crazy number on it because he doesn't need the money. And so when you look at a crazy number and what can I do with it, people continue to walk away because it doesn't work. Same thing with the real estate office that's in there. No one is ever in there. Now it's probably the most appealing business on that side of the street. But the barber shop is active, but that space where they move from is left empty. And then you've got the vape shop. I mean, the florist survives, but I think the elephant in the room are the two SROs, the single room occupancy buildings. I mean, if the characteristics of that building change, that's going to change everything because those are the two that stick out like a sore thumb. And you've got absentee landlords that, despite whatever we think about that building, is making money for them. And without them putting anything into it, that's the problem.
So what's the incentive for, I'll just use Mr. Hasiotis. Like you said, I don't think he needs any more income than he already has. However, he does own a piece of property. But maybe knock on his door and say, hey, Mr. Hasiotis, we would love to see the building that you own rehabbed and brought up to the standards of the town that we'd like to see. Why would he want to do that if he's happy with the income that he's getting for rental? But if maybe, I don't know if this is the proper word, but maybe a tax reduction incentive for a short amount of time. So if you put in $100,000 towards the beautifying of your building, we'll take X amount of dollars off until you get in tax revenue, in taxes, until that bill, your money back, get your money back. Now, when it's done, this building is worth a lot more money. It gets assessed differently, and the town can start generating more tax money from a nicer piece of property. And if he does want to sell it, you said, I thought you said it was for sale. It's more attractive to someone else to come in and say, wow, that is a beautiful building. I'd like to be more, instead of looking at a rundown building, I don't want to buy that. Someone else might come in and say, that is a beautiful building. I'd like to buy it. I'd be interested in buying it.
That's one strategy. I mean, my preference is to look at it and say, okay, what are the restrictions on our existing zoning in terms of what can be done there? Parking is a problem for that building as well. So, when I go back to what I said in the beginning, look at things holistically, there's tied into our neglected parking lot. I mean, there's abandoned cars back there. There's probably people parking back there that shouldn't. So that's a bigger incentive. I mean, if somebody's looking at that building now and say, okay, can I put a restaurant in there, or it's not zoned for that, or how difficult is it? And what's the handicap accessibility? Those are all things that impact that. So, I think his building in comparison looks pretty good, from the outside. It's just the price that he has on it is you're limited in terms of what the uses are currently and meeting the parking requirements.
Is that parking belonging to a town?
Yeah.
That's our parking.
Some of it is, some of it isn't. I mean, I think directly behind that building is probably his or it belongs to those buildings, but again, we don't do any real enforcement or look at it. I mean, we're starting to look at it. We,
Yeah.
you know, through the manager, we're having conversations with BSU, thinking in the future what happens to the old gas station. I mean, so those conversations are happening, but you know, I think rather than give money away, there's other incentives that the town can do to encourage people to do the right thing.
Okay.
And some of that starts with code enforcement. I mean, you don't want to put those people on the street, but I mean, you know, do we have the courage to send a building inspector in there to say, I mean, is this meeting all of the current building code requirements?
I think it's fine. I mean, I don't want to lose businesses, but I think it's just time. I mean, we can't keep going like this.
So one of the things are, this is the conundrum that's been in, and this is years. Years is, I think, when it's part of it's different managers, different philosophies, different councils, obviously too, is that there was a concern about too much code enforcement there. What would be the impact of losing the businesses there? We don't want to have shutters, storefronts there either. So it's sort of grappling with that. But in regards to the question that you posed about, it almost sounds like a TIF, commercial TIF. And I think,
Yeah.
or diff. That conversation is actually. That's something Bob and I have had multiple conversations
Well, I mean,
about.
look
I think
what
we
it's
have
done
to
for
look at.
Easton.
I think we have to look at these
Yeah.
opportunities available. But at the same time, where that's something that I think makes sense. I've advocated for. I've talked with some counselors about it. You also have to manage revenue as well, and the consideration of where we are revenue wise either. So that's a difficult conversation. I remember we had a discussion for this business or this mixed use development over here. And one of the arguments was in our revenue situation, how can we give relief to, developers when we're asking the residents to give more too? So I think that's something the council has to grapple with too. That's a discussion we have had.
Wouldn't this be a great opportunity to do it now because we can give them a break? And Friendlies and Perkins is gonna give us more money because, their buildings are going up. So by the time we designate this as a diff and we get businesses, we'll be getting extra revenue from those two developments. So right now, we're kind of like, we could balance that out.
Yeah, you can't have a TIF and a diff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
Well, businesses is a diff. This center would be a diff or would it be?
well, no, a business or a property owner could receive tax incremental financing. So you're taking money away that you could have had otherwise. You need new development to fund the diff because you're bonding against that future revenue.
Right.
So you need more than one or two buildings to start to make that work. But as Justin said, I mean, we've talked about, I think a diff is the right way to go. We did a diff on Elm Street and it worked out. But you have to have new development to fund the diff.
Well, we have no development.
You don't have enough of it.
Friendlies and Perkins wouldn't be enough?
I mean, not really.
You can say, well, how much diff you want to give, 20%, 10%, so we could see.
I did it. I mean, I don't know if you were on the council. I mean, I did a presentation where I ran out a scenario that when we looked at the 5 underutilized properties that we have in the downtown area, how much money conservatively that would generate as a diff. I'll share that. I'll circulate that again. Conservatively, it does generate a fair amount of money. Now, we're going to lose some of that a little bit if all 5 underutilized sites don't get developed. You've got a contribution from Perkins unrestricted of $200,000 for mitigation. That's your choice. How you want to spend that money on signs, then that's a conversation that you on the council can have, with the manager. But again, it goes back to right now, the economic climate we're in. I mean, it's very difficult to get deals to pencil out because people look at, well, they reduced the prime rate and mortgage rates are low. That doesn't mean anything because that's great if you have a 30-year mortgage and you have AAA credit. In the commercial side, it's super hard to get money. And if you have to go to private equity money, you're paying 13-14%. The rents that you get in downtown Bridgewater right now don't support that kind of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now, if you, I can tell you on Perkins and on the Friendly site, the banks aren't taking into consideration that retail space at all. Those are getting funded entirely based on the residential because it's too much of a credit risk for the banks. So banks like what they call credit tenants. That's a bankable lease. I'll lend you money because I know that McDonald's is not going out of business.
Yeah.
But we saw, Christmas tree shop, they were considered a credit tenant, bankrupt. Bed Bath and Beyond considered credit tenant, bankrupt. So I mean, you have that going on. So I mean, it's again, I go back to you have to look at it holistically in order to see how all of the pieces fit together.
So maybe we should go into the next thing, but so will you look up at those grants for us? And once we do a Blythe,
I mean, if we probably missed this year's cycle for CDBG, I mean, we'll look at it, but yeah, I think that, I mean, and I've, been suggesting this since we found out that we weren't, and Michael didn't want to take it on, because the makeup of the council at that point, he thought they were going to have a negative reaction to it. I can't speak for, where you are now as a council, but I don't see a negative associated with it.
I've been talking to the other councils because they've been asking me about this, so I think they're knowing that we have to step up and do something, so I don't think, and I could be wrong, everyone talks what they want, but I think the Blythe district would go through, and especially having the support of our town manager, I think that would probably go through. I could be wrong, but we'll give it a try.
I agree. I also, if you're talking about the whole parking thing, back to that, what can we do on that parking lot behind there to make, who wants to park there right now? It's falling apart. I mean, we gave a lease to a parking company that gets revenue out of it too, and I believe they have an obligation as well.
Yeah,
The transportation department, you guys have been talking about that, right?
Yeah, I can't speak to the lease with Laz. I can speak to that because it's a concern for BSU as well. We've been talking with them about jointly coming up with a plan. I mean, and we can have Melissa look at that. I probably can maybe work that into the gas station project a little bit, but and leasing some spaces to students with that lot. We think that taking the station down and then cohesively looking at how all that becomes parking, maybe it's a ramp garage, not a structured parking, but you have 2 levels. That's going to change things quite a bit. That can be done reasonably quickly, but again, it comes back to enforcement. There's abandoned cars back there. Well, who's responsible for? It's not my office. We all see it, but and I won't. Police chief isn't here, but the last thing the police want to be doing is writing parking tickets to it and doing that kind of enforcement. So I mean, and you can have signs up that say 30-minute parking. Well, if you're not enforcing 30-minute parking, then it's just a sign.
Well, maybe we'll bring one of the police officers for our next meeting.
We used to
I don't want to be here for that one.
Yeah.
Bridgewater used to have a parking
Enforcement
officer.
Yeah.
And not only did the parking enforcement officer cover their salary, they also generated revenue. And that was before we had the problem. Yeah.
I thought I saw that.
So we did. We had a parking enforcement officer that strictly did enforce parking. One of the things that did send them away was they were really strict on the common, and some of the businesses were suffering because people like, you know what? I got a ticket last time I was here. I'm out of here. I'm not coming back. So if you work with a alarm parking enforcement person and just kind of, give warnings and just get people moving along, maybe that's something to look at. Can I just touch on the enforcement officer for the building codes and stuff like that? Is our building inspector the building commissioner? Is he a commissioner? Or is he just the building inspector?
I'm looking, excuse me? Building commission. Yeah, it's a building.
He's the building,
Commissioner.
so he has the authority to be the enforcement officer?
He is the town zoning.
Oh, he is, okay, so we used to have that back in the day, and we had an assistant building inspector that did a lot of the day-to-day stuff, so maybe some of this stuff, and I'll use the I didn't know it was called the Secocia block. I learned that today. I didn't know the name of it. But I think you mentioned water in the basement. That's something that code enforcement officer would catch and not let it get to that extreme where the floors are rotting out and people are falling through.
I think the problem
So-
is these, those zoning in the
So-
building stuff.
I think the most important thing about this, and then all of these discussions are gonna come around a core thing. Funding, bandwidth, and revenue.
So that's what I was getting at. So
It's so
it
important.
seems like we're short-handed in the code enforcement.
Definitely are.
I think we're short, using maybe a parking code, parking enforcement officer,
Yeah.
which is, I guess,
That'll be
goes
through
through
the police department.
department. But maybe something to look into.
Well, Mr. Rulli was saying that enforcement might come under one of those funds. Under the fund.
See,
CDBG funds there, it can be used for code enforcement.
Code.
Yeah.
You can use it right, it's economic development, housing.
Community
infrastructure. You can use
so
it-
if we go to a
There's a
code
lot.
enforcement, parking enforcement officer, and we take back
I think it's two
the
different.
control, what's that?
I think it's two different
I'm
things,
sorry,
code versus
Yeah,
parking.
I'm going back to parking, and we take back the lot out back from Laz, is that what you said? Now the fire department's not using, so there's a lot more parking spots available back there, they're not parking back there anymore. That could generate a few bucks, as long as maybe not work with the college and just say, hey, we have a parking enforcement officer, if the students are gonna park there and it's 30-minute parking, 1 hour parking, or if we put the coins in, let them deal with it, make it for Bridgewater, not the college. I know I'm bouncing around a little bit,
No,
so.
before you jump, though, I think it's important to address these things. There's a lot of challenges, and I say challenges, opportunities in Bridgewater. So there's a lot of opportunities in Bridgewater. These aren't things that haven't been discussed. And let's just double back a little bit on the Bridgewater, BSU discussion about leasing the space. What we need to do is we need to repave that parking lot too. There's a cost associated with it.
Yep.
And we truly don't have the funds to do it. So trying to be creative, partnering with BSU, negotiating with BSU, are you willing to provide some monetary support to do the work that needs to be done there? And then we lease that out in space. So it's not just lease and give away. It's how do we creatively, in a tough fiscal climate, address a myriad of issues that are in this area. Because it's crosswalks, it's RFB beacons, different things like that. So we're trying to be creative in that too. So I think in some aspects, I think we agree with you, but literally just don't have the money.
But the blighted parking spot with no minimal lighting that's now become more available with spots, maybe repaving is the first step.
Well, he was saying,
Yeah.
And you get money from the,
go with BSU and they'll help pay it. And then we only lease out certain spots
Exactly.
for the students. So,
okay,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, if that lot becomes beautified, the trees get all trimmed, the dumpsters that are out back get enclosed with fencing, so it's attractive for someone to park out there and walk through and come into the downtown.
yeah.
Instead of dingy with, bumpy and potholes and
Trash.
no stripes and nothing.
Well, it's the transportation committee, right? They've been doing a lot. They really have.
I'm not knocking it.
No, I'm just saying, I don't know if it's
These
available
are,
for
yeah,
the,
we've actively been
public to
talking about
watch?
this.
No, I think,
do you guys record? Because like, I know you're there, but, does the residents know? Do you guys record your meetings or no?
The transportation.
yeah, I mean, that transportation committee is loose at best, and I'm not even sure why I'm on it, because I don't live in town, but I mean, it's
Because you work
generally,
in town, Bob, you work in town.
no, but I mean, we have bylaws that can't be on a committee unless you're a resident, so,
Oh.
but I mean, typically we need a sign here, or, I mean, it's more of the traffic committee than the transportation committee. I think that, and Ray can speak to this. When we're approving new projects, you have to have your trash enclosures. We have all these requirements, and then we have all these existing buildings that have no requirements, to your point. So, I mean, I think that cleaning that up and making it more pedestrian friendly, yeah, that is low hanging fruit. I mean, and I think that, we need the university to partner with us in order to do that. That's something we can do short term. Those, and we've talked about that. As we look at the fire station having moved, what do we do with the old one? getting a phase one environmental done now so we can figure out what we have to do. If that building is going to come down, let's know what has to happen. So those balls are all in the air. I mean, those conversations are all happening, but to Justin's point, it just comes down to money
It's the
and
funding.
bandwidth.
Most of-
Who's responsible for the maintenance of the parking lot behind the florist now? Is that Laws or the town?
It would be the town, I think they just.
Laws is simply the contract that was entered with Laws is simply sort of the metering service. So they get a portion of the funds of the meter and then the town gets a portion of those funds. So for example, part of the discussion is some of those metered funds is we want to reallocate that into the downtown area. For example, the rapid flashing beacon lights that we've talked about, want to reallocate those things, probably invest in the parking lot, yeah, but that's the
But
responsibility.
maintenance, like picking up the trash and sweeping is all for the DPW.
Is understaffed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right.
And I have
You are sorry. On the
We do
next
as well.
one. I appreciate it. Okay.
Nice to see you. See you again.
Thank you.
I was just gonna mention before everybody leaves that there is a sign ordinance. So when signs are going up, there's, you have to check in and make sure. that-
There are some rules I know
Yeah.
that says there's sign bylaws and sign, descriptions on what to do for signing. Like I said, back, no backlit, no neon.
That's just for this historic district.
Correct.
We need a comprehensive signage bylaw for the whole
Yeah.
town. We have.
There's
We have
a
that. We have
zoning.
that. It's
The
very
zoning has a lot,
specific. I
like,
worked
you know,
on
if you
it.
look in the
It's very
zoning,
specific.
they have a whole thing on signs. I've looked them up.
But down here in this
Right, so
area,
we
there's
have,
definitely the ordinance that says what you.
There's more specifics.
yeah,
And
well,
when,
that's
and
what
when
we
people
have our
start to
zoning, that we
restore
have the
the,
historic.
when people start to restore the facades or anything, the HDC says what color it can be and all of that. And
Yeah, yeah.
You know, what-
I have
We're
a
aware of
question
that.
regarding that. Is the gas station on the corner Lucky's part of the historic
I
commission?
think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's no
Are
enforcement.
there,
with the signs.
are there signs in compliance? No. So
No, it
that's,
is.
so,
The flashing lights, the different colors, the
So,
ones that
I mean,
are
there's a-
ground.
We talked about
And they go
code
before the
is-
committee.
so who's the code enforcement for
the
the?
building inspector.
Okay, so
He's the same one.
that's another one, extremely short-handed,
Exactly.
Of course.
extremely
We talked
short-handed.
about it at the last town council
So,
meeting.
I mean, a lot of this stuff that we've talked about is is the result of not being able to police the problems that
Sure.
we're having.
Yeah.
And then
The
hopefully
water
with the
underneath,
grant, we can get them.
the water underneath the Scotia building, rotting the floors from below where people
Yeah.
are falling through, that should have never happened. The building commissioner that we have now, I thought he was just a building inspector. Can't, in my opinion, no one could police all this stuff and do his.
Not without
day-to-day
No,
job.
he brought that up.
So-
He stood up
So,
and told
so
Justin.
I think that's
can't
one thing that we should have, well, I wish Justin should. And I don't know, I'm just a resident that's been around and I see with my eyes, absorb it all in.
He had an assistant up until
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the problem being now, stuff is now we're potentially looking at a $2 million deficit and this year is coming.
Yeah, but-
Well, where do you find the funding
You
for the
don't.
extra?
We
No,
find the
that's the problem.
funding, we can find the funding through that, the enforcement through that grant.
Well, I understand, but I'm just saying as in general, it could be it would be a hire of the town under the budget of the town. Right now, there's no money in the budget to hire an assistant in any department. We're looking at potentially cuts in many
Oh, I
departments.
Yeah,
understand.
but during conservation, we had a shared agent, so we could do that with another town. Blythe was good about finding different towns to share. She was very good at that.
Well, I
They've done a
understand. We've done that with animal control. We've done that with.
Oh,
you do
different
part-time.
services.
But we don't have money to do that now.
No, exactly.
We don't have
Right now,
money for the half price.
I'm gonna log off, but I just want time in this part too, and this is important. Grants are important. We've been fairly successful in grants. We're going to continue to be, but they are competitive, and a lot of communities are in the same situation. In fact, this conservation agent that we share with Halifax, there was a concern with the interim administrator in Halifax, for example, that they wouldn't share the position any longer because they can't monetarily support that position. So there's discussions about regionalization, sharing positions, but a lot of communities are now, and I think we're all aware of this about the MMA report, are facing fiscal issues that they can't support all these operations within Prop 2.5 right now. So it's not something that we don't look at. Yes, could we do another shared position? I talked with Steve, for example, about getting some relief with another computer for a shared position. Communities aren't willing to support it and fund it right now. That's absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why I had Steve talk about staffing and the inspectional service department the other day. There's no way that he can do his job as building commissioner and do zoning code enforcement for all this town and do it successfully. It's not possible. It's not possible. All right.
Mr. Casanova, we have one question for you before you
Sure.
log.
Before I go, yeah.
Yeah, what's the parking lot?
Crispy's Restaurant, there's the railroad tracks
The
that
dirt parking
separate
lot.
the dirt parking lot from Crispy's Restaurant. The dirt parking lot, I've noticed for many years, the town maintains it. They plow it every snowstorm. Sometimes they plow that dirt parking lot before they even get into the common. Not a complaint, but I find it interesting that the town maintains it, but it's still just a dirt parking lot. So maybe if it was paid, and again, I know there's no money for that right now, but there's ample parking there, in my opinion. I bet you there's probably between 50 and 60 parking spots available if it were paved and striped.
Who
I'm
owns the-
not aware of that. So if you could do me a favor, actually, so I really have to jump on this next meeting. If you send an email to my office, I would love to understand that further because I'm not aware of what you said there. So send an email to my office and I'll take a look.
You got it.
I think it's
Okay.
state property.
I just listen, Mr.
I
Casanova.
believe that's
Because
state.
I don't know who owns it. I don't have any context for it. I would have to find out.
I think it's the state.
The
I
state
think
owns
it's
it,
the state,
Justin, I believe.
That would probably be my guess, but I don't know, so I'm not going to speak to it. I can find out and make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta go. Have a good
Yep.
rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, thank you.
There's so much buffer around the tracks too. I think that's why it's probably somewhat safe.
We plow. We plow. I know.
Right. But I'm just
And I
saying,
believe some of our town, and I'm not complaining. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I wish it would pay. So
good for
more people would use
Christie's.
it. No, it's good for Christie's. It's good for all
All
businesses.
right, so the next thing is, so we're gonna put in
Energetic.
to make the district like, we're gonna write that out. And the other question that was brought up last time is the billboard.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be up there in the historic district.
You
And,
told me it takes 5 years to remove it. I remember asking you 40 years ago.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I can't hear very
the,
well.
the
The
billboard.
billboard.
The
on-
billboard.
We tried 20 years ago to have it removed and a bevy of lawyers came down on us. Those billboards are owned by a single company that are very powerful.
Oh, okay.
And the town decided we couldn't fight it.
How about 3 o'clock in the morning with Sutherland churches?
Is there an angle maybe that we could approach on that with the stability of the building? I think that
I think
building.
it's an enforcement issue. If we could say we tried that.
Then the
But the
building.
building inspector, this was going back before Steve, the building inspector would not support us on that.
Mm.
We claimed that the roof of the building was not substantial enough to hold the weight of the billboard sign. And we didn't get anywhere with that.
And that may have changed over the last.
Well, if the building is
Yeah.
deteriorating at the rate that people say it is,
It
then
is.
maybe, again, I think the only leverage we have really with these historic buildings is code enforcement.
Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I
safety
think that
issue.
They have that plywood up there because the glass is that far away from the frame and can just fall out. That's why they put that wood up there.
Yeah,
It's
didn't-
so dangerous.
Didn't the billboard just get taken down across the street from the Portuguese club? The Portuguese, that parking lot?
Well, it's because that was rehab to public open space and stuff, and the design of that, I think,
So
had to come down.
Didn't take 5 years.
Yeah.
Based on the redesign of that property, I guess is probably why it took place. But again, if the building's for sale, does anyone know that that building got sold to somebody?
I think it's under.
The owner of the building gets quite a bit of money for renting that space to the billboard company.
That's why everything else down below is cheap.
Oh, quite a bit. I don't know what the figure is, but it
Yeah.
was pretty staggering.
But I know he was selling that building for a pretty big number, and I know someone was just saying somebody might have just bought
Portuguese Club.
the, no, I'm sorry, the building at the corner there, the Sakosha
You know,
block.
there was some connection between that and the woodworking places down by what's the company that's down at the bottom of the street?
The windows by McKelvey.
PBS lumber?
Oh, yeah, Fairview.
Fairview. Fairview. Because one of the guys from Fairview was on a committee with me for several years, and he said something about they make money from that. billboard.
Yeah,
And maybe it's just because they would put an ad on.
No, it's like renting your property out, yeah.
Yeah, billboards could be a very good source of income.
And very
for a property
expensive.
owner.
Monthly,
Yeah,
it's very
but
expensive to rent.
They change
Right.
that quite often.
But I think that now that you have a building that is falling apart,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
maybe
might
we
be
can
time
try
to
again.
inspect, and you have a snow load on that building too,
Right.
which
That's true.
concerns me about the roof. So it might be time to look at it and then maybe enforce the.
Well, the
billboard
other
coming back.
situation why I ask is if it has been sold, then your existing deal with your existing owner is now null and void. A new deal
Right.
has to be struck with a
Right.
new owner. So that could be the time to interject and not renew that deal.
Depending on how that billboard deal is.
Instruction is the sale of the building.
I used
The owner
to,
would
I used to
want-
I'm
negotiate
sure he
billboard
would.
deals, and a lot of them were into the deed. and-
That's-
I would want it.
Is it against
So that's fine.
historical codes to have a billboard?
It's been there for years.
Well, but it's grandfathered in.
Yeah, it's
See, it's been there
Yeah.
So
before
when
the
you
historic.
sell something to someone, is it still grandfathered in?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
What's
have,
your question?
I have a question, in regards to the historical district.
Yep.
And as far as rehabbing a property goes. I want to use I call it the old town hall, but it's the townhouse. So when that got rehabbed, I don't know how many years ago, it wasn't too
Yeah,
long.
the
ago.
outside of it.
Yeah, the outside. How many?
3 years, 2 years,
No,
No,
no.
when it got repainted.
2008.
2008 and then the second one.
Almost.
Okay,
40
so-
years.
I remember going into the building. To the right, there was a staircase and a landing, and then another staircase. I believe there was a little office to the right. Am I wrong there? Or
Okay, so when you go in the front
go to
door,
the front door, go
You
to the
go
right,
up.
up,
Town
Isn't there
clerk's
an
office, there was a small office on the first floor.
well,
on the
the
right. Maybe it was
town
at the
clerk's
top.
office was on the first floor and
No,
then it
second
has,
floor.
so
on
the
the
second
right.
floor and on the right.
Okay, so like,
I don't think there
was
was the
something on the right.
hallway and then they had divided up. It's a huge place up there.
there was a small little office. There was a woman working on a computer,
Yeah.
and she had gloves on with the fingertips cut off, and she had her little
Because it was
jacket on, and
freezing.
she was typing. She had a little plug-in
Heater.
heater at her feet, and there was a window right beside her.
Yeah.
In the window, there was a piece of duct tape covering a hole in the window. This is before the rehab. And I walked by and I looked back. I don't remember who she was. I don't remember her job title. I said, "A little chilly today?" She said, "Yes." I said, "That's not fair. They can't get you an office into the middle of the building instead of near that window." She's like, "Well, I put tape on and I brought my own heat." And I looked at the window and it was a single pane window. When the project went into rehab, God rest his soul, Mr. Leach had
Yes.
told me that the historical commission wouldn't allow them to put in thermal pane windows. Is that true?
That is probably true.
Okay, so because to keep it
Original.
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 Yeah.
Now,
They could-
aesthet-
They could put, some kind of window on the inside.
aesthetically, a thermal pane window with grids inside, similar to this, I don't know if these don't look like the grids are inside. From a ground view aspect, nobody would have known the difference, and the energy would have been saved in heat and protect the building a little bit
But
more.
there's no heat in that building now.
Well, right now there isn't, but you would hope that when you rehab a building, you're gonna put heat in.
When you,
But my point is, if Mr. Passiotis were to rehab his building and Mass Safe comes in and says, "Hey, you need thermal pane windows," would the historical commission say, "No, you can't do that"?
Well, I can't speak for the whole commission of 6 people on there, but, windows have improved a lot in the last 20 years.
That's for sure.
And in terms of design, for example. And we've been amenable, I mean, when we approved these windows in this building and their thermal windows
So that's good.
and energy efficient. And we approved them completely.
So that's good to
They
know.
look attractive.
I guess my point is, there is what's the word I'm thinking of? People that have downtown property in the historical district shy away from it because they feel as though they're restricted on some of the things they can and can't do. Now, I'm in favor hugely of no vinyl siding.
Right.
But I would say hardy plank, which is a cement board,
Yes.
which If you walk right up to it and touch it, you can't even touch
We've
it.
approved some hardy boards.
So I think that,
buildings.
that information would be crucial, in my opinion, to people like Mr. Pasiotis and the next. There's a concept that, hey, don't bother. The historical districts will choke you out and not let you do things and just put it right back to normal.
Want to have a meeting.
It's important that that information, I'm just telling you from an outsider looking in. We were, on our building, we did all brick. I was shocked to have the historical commission come back to us when we opened the building and say, hey, thank you for putting your building in the center of town. We had some other issues with the town, we won't go there, but it was very, very nice to hear the historical commission come in and say, thank you for doing such a beautiful building. That was awesome.
Well, the building that was there was falling down.
Regardless.
I mean, it was,
Regardless, I'm just telling you, there's
well, I was on the committee
There was
then
a
too.
there's a perception.
Forever.
I'm not trying to be mean.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
trying to let you know that there's a perception that for anybody that has property in the historical district, you're gonna be choked out once you hear the rules and regulations that they're gonna mandate.
Well, if they have to replace something, they don't have to replace it with the same kind of material.
Well,
Okay.
preferably.
Right, but if it's gonna be that expensive, because you didn't do that for the church, their windows or something that you guys said.
Well, the
It was too
Unitarian
expensive.
Church,
Yeah.
applied to us for, certificate of appropriateness to replace the windows. They wanted to use the original glass and everything,
That's on
Yeah,
them.
and that was their decision, and of course, we approved that and we welcomed it.
right. But if they couldn't afford it, you guys, I mean, if they can't afford it, you work with them to try to find,
We do.
yeah. So they're not that.
We really
they're not
are
like-
very amenable.
Yeah,
Stefano, I think you've got a great idea to call a meeting
yeah.
of the Historic District Commission with the owners and invite the owners of the buildings
Well,
downtown.
Mr. Casanova
He's
Davis
working on
is setting
it.
up a meeting with all the businesses because he had asked me to
Business
come
and
in.
All
property
bus-
owners.
just,
Yeah.
just the downtown businesses,
Yeah.
not all businesses in
You should probably
town,
invite-
right?
I think
Well,
again,
it's in the
that's,
historical.
yeah, I would,
district.
I would say the same thing is,
Should be the
once we
HDC.
get to this point where we might be applying for, facade improvement grants, we have this meeting, get all the owners together saying, this is what the town has gathered here with outside grants. We'll get the historic district to say, with the current technology, you can use the hardy board, you can use these windows that have historical look. So they know that, they're not gonna be up against it with the
Well,
historical.
here's what I foresee.
Exactly.
If I'm, again, I keep looking back at those buildings because I think we're all in agreement that those are the ones that are most.
Yeah, in need of help.
Need the most attention. Okay, we're gonna get you this grant, we're gonna get you this. I would look at, all right, what can I do for the most bang for my buck square footage wise as a business owner?
Yeah.
I think that's a normal thought process.
Yeah.
And to me, what immediately comes is the lower end Harvey windows, vinyl siding, vinyl, aluminum wrap, all the trim. And like someone said, lipstick,
Yeah.
I think it was you.
Well, we
That's-
do have zoning
So,
regulations
but-
down here.
No,
Besides-
But a list of what they're gonna allow, Steph,
right, so now that $50,000 grant, that could get you
a whole lot.
Yeah.
No.
this freaking.
I know what you're saying.
Hey, you know what?
No, I know what you're
I'm not
saying.
But no,
doing
we're
this.
gonna meet.
But I
with
think
them.
it's gonna
Don't wanna
be,
lose them. We don't
I
wanna
think we're
lose
gonna have to meet somewhere in the middle, because again, I don't think the grant money alone is gonna do the whole job. I think they're gonna have to
Absolutely
invest on their own end as
But
well.
that's when you come in with it, I call it a diff, but diff, whatever you wanna call it, riff,
Yeah,
diff, whatever you wanna
Diffs and
call it.
tips are different.
That's when you come in with that portion.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, you're gonna
we're
get-
going to meet with the committees, I mean, the businesses beforehand, so they know what we're doing. I don't want them to find out and think we're coming after them, so we are meeting.
Well, I
Well,
think the
that's-
And we
HDC
can,
should, I think the HDC should be able to call.
and I think that, you know,
And meet with
if you
them.
wanted to bring up or come, I mean, I'll ask,
No.
I know the
anybody
TIF
can speak.
district that we try to creates a zone. I'm not sure if a zone is created with a diff or not. I'm not familiar with it either, but that's a bit, what we were trying to do originally with the project, the Friendlies, is create a zone that might include other properties.
I'm gonna be honest, with you, I didn't see that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
I
That
didn't
might,
see
There's a
it.
big difference.
It's a
well,
big-
I understand,
it's a
but
big-
again,
Narrow down into one property.
well, but then we still then separately can't do spot
Yeah, yeah.
spot diffs for a particular
Yes,
property.
we can.
Property by property basis.
You can do an area just like, Easton, that's why they do it so well. They're diff, so it's a good thing.
I think if you create an
So
entire
we-
zone, it just doesn't create the favorability.
Let's get back on.
Like with you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. So,
And I think they need to call a meeting to invite everybody.
Public meeting, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I think they should meet with, Justin's bringing them all in. I was gonna come in just so we can address
Well,
that,
if he wants
these.
to talk to them about his, but I think the Historic District Commission.
Well, we
Itself,
definitely would be.
so that every person on the Historic District Commission who is going to be voting for whatever happens
Yeah.
is there at a meeting and here's what's being talked about. I think that's an important thing. It is. Everything
that's up
that
to
should
them.
rest on Bill's shoulders
Yeah.
to do the whole thing and try to convince.
No,
We
we
need to
wouldn't
get the
expect-
property owners.
We just
They're
have the
ones
chairs
who
come
make the
here so that they can
decisions,
speak to
not just
their
the
committee.
people who are in these businesses.
Yeah,
but
this
it's
is
the
just
property
this
owners.
business, yeah.
We gotta get the ducks in a row.
You can only start in one way.
But-
All right, so we gotta go back to, we got a zoning order to go over, and I was hoping that you'd stay so we can, did you get a copy of this?
No.
It's, Mr. Loretti, the council, brought this up and he gave it to us because we told him that it has to go through the historical committee and commissions have to look at it. He's trying to change some of the zonings and enforce others. So I mean, we can talk about it at the next meeting if you want to really look at it. Do you have one of these, Dalton?
Yes, I'd like one.
I don't have one either.
You need one?
Do you have one?
No,
Oh, I thought I gave you one when you came in.
did you?
Yeah. It's on, you flip the page. It's on the second page.
I think all I know is that.
Yeah. Second page. So
I'll
we're
just-
planning on meeting once a month. So
Yeah.
I mean, if everyone doesn't have fellow.
So the opening thing
Thank you very
I'll
much.
just say about this, thank you so much for coming. The opening thing I'll just say about this is it's all, well and good. It's just, it comes down to enforcement. I mean, you can set up all the, maintenance standards that you want, but if there's no one there to enforce those standards, who's gonna follow them?
Yeah, and he's adding stuff and, this area is historic, so I wanted to make sure if you want to bring this to your committee and look at it, Mr. Moore, and then we can talk about it. It's
This
not
looks
what,
great.
is it? You think it's
Wow.
good?
But,
This is,
Okay.
I'm speechless.
so
Well, if you approve of it, then we can, if we approve it, we can move it to the town council. What did you want to say?
back to the enforcement. I don't know the full ramifications of what we're gonna get in the budget. I don't think we're looking to add positions. We just heard
No,
last
it's
night from the
certainly-
school committee that they want to restore 10 positions. And I don't know how we were gonna do that. Fire wants positions, police wants positions. We need that position for,
Yeah, but at least it'll be on the books with this.
Commission, this can't go on an agenda until it's referred by town council to any other.
Oh, okay, so we have to refer to the town council. Okay.
Yeah, it can't go.
It can't go to another committee,
go
like you
into
say.
another
We
committee.
can't have
It has to go
historic look
back to
at
the
it,
town
those
council
refer.
and then go to
Can you all
refer.
look at it, Mr. Moore?
You can, but you can
This-
discuss it.
I'm so impressed. I can't
Oh,
believe it.
yeah.
This
You can
is
discuss it
really-
unless it's referred.
So
by
if
the
you're
council.
happy with it, that's the main thing I wanted. I went over it. I looked up all the laws that he
Yeah.
had on it. I didn't see anything. Even if we can't afford it, at least it's on the books.
So like I was saying, so the only other thing I'd say is I might suggest we hold this for our next meeting and invite the building inspector up here.
Yeah.
To give his opinion on it and how enforceable it is from his
Yeah,
office.
I thought we invited the bill inspector to this one. But it's expensive.
Well, I
I
got,
mean, we could invite him to come to the town, because Justin could ask him to come in and address this at the town council.
well, again, I understand what, the council, but I'm saying we're working through this as a subcommittee. So if we want to get the backbone information regarding this, I think, again, if he's available, invite him to our next meeting here where we can
Yeah.
take this into a little bit more depth. Because this,
Definitely.
and then we could, dive into a little bit more deeply, but
Sounds
as
good.
far as being able to support this or not really depends on the enforcement. You can create all the rules you want, but if you can't enforce the rules, then what's the point?
The point is having it on the book, so if we get someone, we can. We don't
I
have to
might
go
debate
back.
that.
I'm gonna suggest
No,
that,
because if you don't have it, then you have to go back and do the whole thing over. But if we do this and then we get that grant, it's already on the books, because you have to go the first, the second, and all that. I say go forward.
so next, we're
I
gonna
would
do
think
this on next meeting.
any,
I think if the building inspector
I think
is as
it's
busy as he is being by himself, then maybe we need to meet with him like budget and finance meets before a council meeting.
I'll give a copy to the town manager and he can give it to, the
Give it to
building
Steve. You can
inspector.
take it down now and hand it to Steve before you leave.
Well, he's not my employee. I'm gonna give it to the town manager.
That's fine. I don't mind the process, but again, inviting him like you've invited other people to our next meeting and see.
I kind of thought I did. I might have not. I think I just brought it up.
All right. Well, next meeting, I would definitely make sure there's an invite to him and see if we can get his feedback directly.
I'm gonna hand this to Justin and ask him to invite it to the next meeting.
Do you think you should think about some kind of fee structure for violations of the ordinance?
I thought there was. If you look under, I looked them up. It's under the zoning code 10.2, 10.21. I couldn't get them printed out. And because.
There might be some existing fees and.
There's existing fees. I think there's also a court thing. So it's according to him how much he wants to enforce. But I did look it up.
There's sometimes like a first offense, second offense, third offense type of
Those
breakdown.
fees have probably been that way for 20 years, so.
Yeah.
We look, yeah, in some
But if you
areas we
look
look at them
if you look
before,
at
but I don't
the
think
town,
they
Mr.
changed.
Moore, if you look under economic and zone, economic and development, and they have a button that says subcommittees. So you hit that and it'll bring up zoning. And if you look down, there's a highlight, the zoning laws, and it's under 10.1, 2, and 3, all the enforcements.
I wonder if any,
He can
fees,
do a writing a violation, or on his own initiative, he shall make a cause to be made to become before the courts. I just.
May result in fines and other
Might
remedies.
stop now because that's old, doesn't say you to my portion, so frustrating.
yeah.
One of the
I wonder
ones
if
that
there have ever been any
I think
fees
something-
actually assessed and
Well,
collected.
that's a historic.
For things of this nature. Again, it all depends on the enforcement. I don't think there's been much enforcement over it.
No, I
Some
don't
kind of
think
audit.
Oh, you did.
Especially not since the assistant went.
Potentially.
I think when the assistant was here, there was a better chance that maybe.
I mean, it might go back to when the building inspector was
So we gonna.
back here in this building, right back before this building was redone.
So-
Back to
How many members are on the
Smith,
committee?
Mr. Smith.
Smith's on the other one, sorry.
Right.
He's your committee and he's commission. All
Yeah,
right.
they don't have a great deal of authority.
Right, you-
We have a lot of legal authority.
Right.
Okay,
Because we're covered by the Mass General Law 40C.
he's mostly preservation and looking at the old stuff, right?
Very knowledgeable.
Oh, yeah, I
Very,
listen,
very.
I listen to you guys, your meetings. So how many are on your committee?
Seven.
Seven.
Seven, sir.
Okay, you can watch the old
Yeah.
ones, I do.
Seven, count 11.
Okay, so we're gonna hold this back, right? All right,
Well, I would make a motion just to, review this in more depth at our next meeting and, with the hopes of having the building inspector here to go over this with us.
I'll second that.
any more discussion about it? We're all set? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
All right. So then do we have another public? We don't have another
Nope.
public hearing, no?
Yes.
And we don't have the minutes on here either, so we'll have to bring the minutes up to next.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn. for
Second.
55.
Everybody agree?
Aye.
Somebody does something like.
We try to make it on a Thursday if the
Yeah, probably, probably